All right. We will get started here in just about 1 minute. Okay, just hit noon and we have quite a bit to cover. So, by the way of introduction, I'm Trent. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Woven. And today we're going to go on and do a deep dive on Woven's new communications feature. Before we get into all of that, a few housekeeping things, which are going to be as of today, this feature is now available. So if you'd like to, for your account, opt into it, just reach out to your assigned customer success manager, whether that's myself, Lauren, and a member of our team, and you're able to turn it on. Typically, it's going to be about 1 day turnaround when this happens, and a few things to note when that does happen. If you are using announcements today and you have announcements published, and you turn on and do this early opt-in, your current announcements will be transferred over to the communications feature. You will not need to do that yourself. You will also get the current history of this year of announcements transferred over to the communications feature. And additionally, security roles in your account will be updated. So as an example, if you're someone that's able to author an announcement today, when you turn on the new functionality, you will be able to author a communication across your organization, right? Permissions are going to match. So just a few things related to that. With all of that said, let's get into the deep dive. So here I am in fictitious environments, and I think the best way to show you what's been edited or changed is to show you what used to be here. So here is a demo account with the old homepage, and you're going to notice a few things. Like I have these actions to take up here in the margins with these widgets, like my shifts, my availability, my quick actions, the recognition leaderboard here over on the right-hand side, and celebrations down here. If we go to the new homepage, which is part of this change for communications, you're going to see it looks quite a bit different. Quick actions now take up less surface area. They're still clickable buttons. However, they're a little bit smaller. The widgets that require your attention are now over here. So things that Trent needs to take care of, whether that's viewing my shifts, my availability, signing documents, whatever it might be, are over here. The recognition leaderboard is now over here on the right-hand side and much smaller. And then the big thing, the thing we're here to talk about is communications. So communications is effectively replacing announcements. Transparently, it's even hard for me to say communications every time instead of saying announcements. So I'm still kind of learning all of this. However, one of the bigger things is this feed, right? This feed of information is going to be here for you to view. You have a featured section. So think of this as like a all company announcement or something like that I want absolutely everyone to see, and it's prioritized over all of the other communications. If I scroll down, I have this feed of additional communications that are posted and whatever they might be. And I have these areas here, which are called channels. You can control what your channels are. By default, there will be one channel, which is just going to be this communications, but I'll show you how to create your own and you can make them whatever you want. Some other things that you'll notice are different are I have emojis here, I have a chat bubble, and I also have this eyeball here on any of my communications. If I click into one of these, you're going to notice that people can comment on the communications, which was not something you could do in announcements. You can also react with emojis, which is not something you were able to do before. And even you can acknowledge or confirm or whatever you would like to do there on these new communications. This is an option. You do not have to have any of those things here on any announcement or communication. There, I did it again. You get to configure every time you author a communication. Are people going to be able to react to it? Are they going to be able to comment on it? And are you going to require acknowledgement of that communication? So it's highly configurable. If I scroll down, let's go into just to show you, these are filters essentially. I can say, I just want to look at this marketing one or some things for operations or what have you. Channels are effectively filters. So that's the homepage in a nutshell and what's changed. Let's get into some of the more nitty-gritty stuff, which is going to be around authoring your communications. So over here under management, I'm going to go to communications. And this is what it's going to look like. So if you previously had access to announcements, it's going to look pretty similar to what that page looked like before. Some things that are different though are you have some new filter options, such as being able to filter by channel. You have a settings section here now where you can determine what your channels will be. And you just click here to add a channel. If you go into a channel, click on this one here. You can color code them if you'd like to. You can add a specific moderator, which we'll talk a little bit about later. And you can determine which audiences or which teams or positions are able to use this channel. Meaning, when I'm authoring in a communication, am I, let's say, as a general manager, allowed to target the communications channel? There are additional settings here we'll go over a little bit later. If we go back into the communications section, let's go to a communication here. So Mother's Day is coming up. Let's click on this one. So this one is already published, but I'm going to go ahead and unpublish it here for a moment so we can see some things. All right. So here is a Mother's Day flyer. This one happens just to be a PDF. This is something you could do in the past, which is just upload a PDF as your announcement. Some things that I want to highlight before we go too deep is the stuff on the right-hand side is relatively new. So previously, you were able to control the visibility of your communication, and that's still the same. You were also able to mark if a communication was normal and important. That is also still the same. However, we do now have this featured option, which is that top carousel that we saw on the homepage, and you can choose how long something is going to be featured. So let's use an example here. If this is going to be published until 5:10, do I want this announcement or communication to be featured until, let's say, the 4th, right? And I can do that. If I leave it blank, then it will be featured the entire time it's published. Then you control the audience. So here I control what channel is it going to be displayed under. And here are my current options based on the settings we just looked at. Then this is also relatively different, which is targeting. So previously you had the ability to target all, but you had to click quite a few buttons to do that. Now, if you're trying to target all, you just click public, and that will target all locations and all positions in your account with one click. If you were trying to target specifics, then you click on targeted, and then that's going to work exactly like it did before. You can target locations, custom teams, and then also positions or specific positions. All of that is largely the same. Engagement, like I talked about before, we now have the ability to allow comments and reactions and acknowledgements. However, you do have the ability to take any of those things off any specific communication. So you could do one of these things, all of these things. It's completely up to the author of the content on what it's going to do. One thing to point out with this new one, which is require acknowledgement. This is a button that the person can actually click on, and I'll show it to you here in a real example. So here I had clicked this button to acknowledge it, right? I can configure what that button actually says. So it can say whatever I would like. And that is the button that people will see. So you can configure that and gamify that a little bit for every single communication that goes out. You also have this new option for force show on homepage load. So what this will do is on your app as well as on desktop, if I toggle this and I republish this, next time someone logs into this account, this communication is going to pop out and it be in front of them without them clicking on it. It's going to force them to see it before they can do anything else. That's brand new. We also have this discoverability section. So previously, once an announcement was unpublished or its expiration date expired, it wasn't visible to your team members if they were trying to search it or reference, what was that Mother's Day promo as an example, and it would just archive itself. If you'd like to, you can make it discoverable, and you can also set discoverability dates. So they could search for the content related to Mother's Day and still find it until, let's say, the end of next month, right? If I wanted to. And that's new functionality as well. We go back into communications and authoring things. I'm going to click into a different example. Save this new location opening. You're gonna notice that the charts for insights have changed as well, been updated to be a little bit more readable. Still all about engagement per location, per position, by hour, etc., but a new look and feel of those. If we go into the content creation side of things, you're going to notice that you can upload your own images for backgrounds. So if I wanted to, I can put in my own little stock image here of what this is going to look like on this card, or I could upload my own. I also have solid colors here as well. I have this feed summary and my content editor, just like before. Something I will mention though is that Stitch is here, a little AI bot to help you. So if you are struggling with what to put in your summary or what to call the title of your announcement, or even with your content, you can have Stitch help you and make recommendations. When you click this button, you can actually configure what Stitch's recommendations are going to do. So think of this as like having a little, let's say like a director of communications standing behind you that is encouraging you to write in the brand's tone of voice and use your jargon, internal, and all that kind of stuff. And it will show you where that all lives. Otherwise, creating an announcement is largely the same. And again, the big new things are about the settings and configurations over here that we just saw. All right, let's keep moving as we have quite a bit to cover. So related to all of that, let's pivot and talk about some of the settings that are all new. We talked about channels. Moderation is coming. This is still kind of a work in progress, but the idea here is think of this like Google Analytics or Google reviews. When somebody sees a communication and they say something about it, a comment on it, Woven can be taught to moderate those things and flag certain comments if it thinks that might have been inappropriate. And those things that are flagged, you determine somebody through these settings in your account who gets notified when something is flagged, and then they can come in and potentially hide it or take corrective action as needed. This moderation tab here is simply just, are you going to have an AI kind of flag those types of things? Yes or no? If you are you going to have the moderation be conservative, standard, or permissive? Are there any additional terms beyond our typical profanity filter that you would want to have as blocked terms? You can have an additional 100 here beyond the 3,000 or so that are blocked by our default profanity filter. And then when the person is notified of these things, how often are they notified? Is it every single time, immediately? Is it hourly? Or is it an email daily with anything that got flagged? There is more functionality likely to come on this, but that is how that works at a high level. Then I talked a little bit about Stitch and the writing assistant that will be there to help you along the way. You can configure Stitch to talk in the tone of voice that you want to, or make recommendations more so in the tone of voice that you want to. So here in my account, I've taught it that I want to always be warm and friendly. I haven't given it necessarily any tone. I said that I have my organization reads at a 6th grade level. I can make this whatever I want. Audience assumptions, headline formula, things to say and don't say, any policies that I want it to enforce, or even glossary. Like I know a lot of the groups that we work with don't necessarily call their locations locations. You might call them units, you might call them clubs, you might call them spas, right? And you can teach Woven Stitch a glossary of what those terms are, so that as it's making recommendations, it's talking like you would as an internal employee. And that's our first foray into some of this agent stuff. You don't have to necessarily know the answers to these questions. Basically, once you're configuring this for the first time, you'll just click configure with Stitch, and it'll ask you some questions along the way and fill in these fields for you. It is optional. You do not have to use this if you do not want, but it is here for you if you'd like. And then down here, you have configuration. So recently, we did an enhancement around position hierarchy. So when someone clicks, let's say, public communication, it doesn't necessarily go to like the CEO of the company or somebody like that, or a person in finance that doesn't need a road construction notification. If you say yes here, Woven is going to honor those position hierarchies. If you need more familiarization to be more familiarized with position hierarchy, ask your CSM about it, and they can show you how to configure that in your account. But that's been out there for a little while. You also can set some default behaviors. So as you're making your communications, what is going to be the default days of how long it's going to be visible? What do you want the default acknowledgement button to say? Is it going to say acknowledge, or is it going to say something else? Are you going to require an end date? And who is the default moderator for messages that get flagged? And you can choose that person by name. And last but not least, we now support translation. So if you are going to offer translation, you click yes here, and Woven will support, I believe it's 5 languages today that Woven will translate your communication into. And that's settings for communications. Okay. I'm going to click here and add just to show you an example from start to finish. Here's me adding a new one. Here's me in the content creation side of things with a completely blank one. I'm going to say training with the CS team and put this all in here. And I'm actually going to have Stitch suggest something for me here. Oops, it's not working right now, unfortunately. Sorry about that. And then you've already seen all of this. You can still do your show preview just like before, make sure that it looks good, all that kind of stuff. To wrap up this side of things before we pivot to some of the brand side of things, I do want to talk briefly about that this is basically all the same stuff that you could do before with communications, plus additional functionality, right? You're not losing any bells and whistles. You're just getting more options, and you don't have to use all of those options if you do not want to. You want it to behave exactly like it did before, you were able to do all of the same things. Something we haven't clicked on here yet is the communication side. I talked about how to configure it, but this is going to be ultimately where things that are getting flagged will live. So here's a comment that was flagged. I can click on it. I could take an action on it. I can speak back to it, etc. I can filter. Again, this part is still being worked on, so there's not a ton to show you on the moderation side. Okay, let's go and look at a brand account so we can see some very slight differences, but it is largely going to be the same. If I go to a brand account here, oops, apologies, I clicked on the wrong one. Give me 1 second. Okay. So in a brand account, once you opt in, you will have this new communications. I know this is a little confusing because there's already a current communications, but if you click into this one, you'll see a banner here that this one is going away. Same exact housekeeping rules apply as with the ops level accounts. We go to the new communications. Again, the look and feel is going to be the exact same. The things that are different, we'll show you in a moment. So we'll add a new one. And really, you have all the same bells and whistles as you do on the other side, including even like our AI writing assistant, stuff like that. But the thing that is different are these things right here in the audience selection. So you have positions, brands, positions, and organizations to select from. So knowing that I have all of these ops accounts or potentially franchisees in most cases in this account, I can pick and choose who am I sharing this communication with. I don't have to necessarily share it out with all of my franchisees. I can pick and choose if I need to. Among that, I can also pick and choose amongst my brand positions, my regular positions, and then down here, I have a share policy. So our organization is going to be able to share this inside of their own account, yay or nay. I say restricted, then they do not have the option to share it. It will only go to these people up here listed in the audience. If I click open, then they could potentially edit this announcement in their ops account and change the targets to whatever they would like. So be careful when you're using that and only use it in the use cases that applies to. Otherwise, as of this webinar, the functionality around this is the exact same as everything we saw on the operations account. The big difference is really just being those brand positions and organization targets that we see here in the audience column. This is version 1, so we're going to continue to iterate on this functionality. And for anybody that joined a little bit late for the housekeeping items, today marks the first day that you could get hands-on with this if you would like to. It is going to be a one-for-one swap with the announcements functionality. So if you want to opt in, reach out to your customer success manager. They can coordinate the timing of that with you and then switch your account over. There is no switch it over security role by security role or anything like that. This is a all or nothing for your account. But that said, it can go account by account. So if you are somebody like a brand on the call right now, if you wanted to test with a certain franchisee or something like that, you do have the ability to do that. It's just that it's per account. You have until 6:30 to switch over. If you have not switched over by 6:30, not time of day, but 6:30 the date, there will be a full cutover forced as the current iteration of announcements or communications in this account is being deprecated. Okay. Last thing I'll mention, because I did mention on the top of the call, is current announcements that you have up will be transferred over when you make the switch, as well as security roles will be copied when you make the switch. So you don't have to worry about those types of administrative things. If you have questions along the way, you reach out to me personally or your CSM. And with that said, we're actually wrapping up a little early, which is great. I'll hang out here for, let's say, 5 minutes or so if there's any questions. And if not, I thank you for joining me, and we'll talk to you next time. Is there a written document that you can provide as we prepare communications to our staff about the updates? Definitely. We have change logs, which we always post under the question mark icon in Woven. Those will be ready. If they are not already up, they will be ready very, very soon. So there'll be that, as well as new help articles and customer-facing documentation. So reach out to your CSM and they can provide any of that to you. We have quite a bit of documentation on this. You're very welcome. Any other questions? All right. We'll give it another, let's say, 2 minutes or so, and then we will disconnect. Okay. I haven't seen any new questions pop in, so we're going to call it. Thank you for the time, and we'll catch you next time. All right. Bye.